Well, hell. Welcome back to Tech Travel and Twang. Well, hi. Welcome back to Tech Travel and Twang. This is our special guest edition. Super happy to have a whole new perspective on something Kristen and I have been talking about a long time, which is gender parity in tech and travel. Hey, Kristen.
Good morning, Jen.
So I'm really excited to announce our guest, Vered Schwarz, who is the president and COO of Guesty. And if you have not heard of Guesty, you need to reevaluate what you're doing with your life. Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you. It is so wonderful to be here with you, ladies.
Awesome.
It's
Well,
great to have you.
tell us a little bit about your background and what brought you into travel and tech.
So I've been with Guesty for over 6 years now, and that was really my first introduction into the hospitality space. It is my fifth company in terms of tech. So before Guesty, I was at four other tech companies. The recent one was Fiverr, if you're familiar with it.
I saw that.
Yep,
Yes. Oh
yep.
my goodness.
Which was a really exciting journey. I joined them as the first executives, joined the founders, and scaled it from 40 employees to hundreds of employees and going public. And before that, I was in three other companies, as I mentioned. And my initial background is law, actually. I was a lawyer doing IPOs and mergers and acquisitions, so quite a journey there.
Oh my
And
gosh.
Wow, that is a journey.
yeah, and I think what I loved about joining the hospitality industry is, first of all, it's so relatable, right? Unlike cybersecurity or, things like that in tech, hospitality is what we all do, right? We all travel, we all host, in one way or the other. We're all interested in real estate, of course, that's always interesting. So really being in that industry that combines them all, the travel, the real estate, the properties all around the world, and really introducing new trends to how people live and travel and work. If you think about it, the recent years in short-term rentals, since the introduction of Airbnb into our lives, changed so much of how we work, how we live, how we travel, especially since COVID, with people being able to work from anywhere and combining business and leisure. So I just found everything to be so exciting in this industry, and I've been happy and excited for the past 6+ years doing that.
That's incredible. That's incredible. So
That is.
let's wind back just a minute before the travel part because I want to validate because as soon as you said Fiverr, I knew I was like, oh my gosh, like how did she get over there? Like I want to hear some of the being a female in tech coming up stories. So give us a little bit of like what was that like and what did you find to be your best strategies to move up in that environment?
Yeah, first of all, it was a lot of hard work. Let's let's not forget
Yes,
that.
I
ma'am.
can
Um,
imagine.
But I think one of the most important lessons I've learned is to put myself out there and always take risks, even when the decision was not that obvious. Okay.
Mhm.
I know that a lot of people, when I joined Fiverr, for example, it was a small company selling digital stuff for $5. It seems to be like something really, really weird. And a lot of my friends said, why are you leaving, a high paid job in a mid-sized tech company for that? And I said, I don't know. There's something about the story about, and as I mentioned with Guesty, it's about, understanding there's a change in the way people work in the world. And I really felt that, the emotional connection to that. And I also knew that diving into that small company, starting from scratch and building it up, gives me an opportunity that I might not get in bigger companies. So one thing to think about when you take career choices is sometimes you have to like go down in terms of the size of company or the security of your work, right? In order to get the chances to be a C-level executive. Because I moved from being a VP of operations and general counsel to the COO of Fiverr. And that enabled me really to move up in my career, take on more roles and responsibilities and manage a large team eventually, and brought me after 6 years to Guesty. So that's one thing. And really taking those risks, not only in terms of choosing the company or the business, also in doing things you're not 100% comfortable in, right? Like,
Right.
think
Right.
about it. I started as a lawyer. In actually my second company, I was asked to take on operations, and I didn't know anything about operations. So I could have said, listen, guys, I'm a lawyer. I don't know anything about operations. I'm just going to be the
Yeah.
GC, and that's fine. But I said, okay, something new, something I didn't do before.
Hmm.
It's climbing up the ladder. And I said, yeah, sure, I'll do it. Yeah, I can do that. That's easy. And then I just started reading about it, creating a community for myself, talking to people that are doing this role in other companies and understanding what it means. And as a result of that, I learned and managed to expand my role and expand my
Mm.
impact in the company. So moving from general counsel to general counsel and VP operations, then to COO at Fiverr, and now COO and president at Guesty, taking this impact, I'd say, even further, managing more people, more department, and feeling like I have a really strong hold in the Guesty vision, the Guesty direction, really being a strong part of the story.
Wow.
That's
Wow. Oh
amazing.
my gosh. That's just like
I
a whole
love to
motivational.
hear.
It was.
Yes. And I love to hear the strategic moves that you thought about along the way too, because it is something I think that not a lot of women in our industry, a lot of women in tech don't understand is sometimes it's not about the consistency going up. It's about the strategy going in between. And I think that is not something that a lot of us really think about in the moment until we're offered an opportunity where we have to think a bit more strategic. So I love hearing that story.
Right. And I love the piece about creating a community for yourselves because I think that's something I know women in, a lower part of tech that we're in, but I know that they're, where do you find something? Like if it's not there, then create it for you. So I love that piece of it. I feel like that backstory is so much to unpack. That's a whole motivational talk in of itself.
It,
Yeah, and think about it back then, because I'm not that young. There was no such social community, right? We didn't have
right.
Facebook and LinkedIn and all that. We had to actually connect with people, sending emails and say, "Hey, let's meet up. Let's have a call." At like a call, right? Not a
Right,
Zoom.
right.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. And I feel like too, because I spent a little bit of time in the tech marketing side for a few years, and it felt like Vered, that, and you probably had the same experience, that you were constantly in a room full of men. Like you were very, very, a lot of times a very solo woman in a male tech dominated space, really having to form those relationships because we didn't have all the social tools and technologies we have now to do that any other way, but spend that time really cultivating those relationships and earning that seat at the table. Like it was a lot harder to earn that seat back in that time frame.
Yeah, funny story, because you said alone in a room full of men. So the first time I really decided that I need to do something about this and really promote women in tech and promote gender parity was a little over 10 years ago, or 12. I was at Fiverr at the time, and one of our investors invited us to this meetup of the senior executives of older portfolio companies.
Mhm.
And I come in, there are about 50 people in the room, and I am the only woman. Okay, the only woman. It was that funny that someone came over to me and asked me, "Hey, do you happen to be Vered?" And I told him, "Let's look around. Who else could it be? It could only be me." Um, and I thought about it then, and I said, it's impossible. It doesn't make any sense that I'm the only woman in the room. And why aren't there more of us? And I decided to do something about it. I decided to write about it. I decided to talk to my community about it. I decided to see how I promote women in Fiverr at the time and later on at Guesty. And how do I really help women become a bigger part of this tech community that is amazing?
I want
That's
to hear a
we
little bit more about that with how you promote women, especially at Guessing now. Like, what kind of programs or mentoring or what do you put into place to support that vision? Because I love that.
Sure. Currently, we are about 43% women at Guesty.
Oh,
We're
wow.
850 employees, right? So that is quite a lot. It's a
Hmm.
lot to maintain at our size. And I think a few things that have led us to that is, first of all, the intent, right? And
Mm,
I do not promote, hiring a woman just because she's a woman.
Of course.
I promote having the right policies and practices to eliminate bias and to give women a fair chance. And I do believe that since we're
Mhm.
over 50% of the population, and we're very talented, there are definitely great women out there for almost every role, and we should give them a chance. And
right.
once you implement those strategies, and once you tell your team that's what you expect, and once you have enough women in different roles in the company and enough interviewers that are not just men,
Mhm.
they hire a diverse set of people. They understand that different people can contribute to our company and to our culture, and as a result of that, you get a more diverse company. And I
Mm,
think what is even more important is not just start with the hiring. I mean, you start with the hiring process, but you have to move on and say, how do I create unbiased promotion policies? And how do I make sure that there's an inclusive environment out there? And how do I make sure that if there's an open role for a promotion, women actually apply to it? And that means you don't just post in our internal portal, hey, there's an opportunity. You actually reach out to women if they didn't, apply, and say, hey, why didn't you apply for this management role? I think you could be a great fit. You should try it. And we also have mentorship program where we help women hone their skills and encourage them to speak in conferences, okay, and to really perfect their, appearance on stage, and how to brand themselves, and how to be better managers, and how to be more prepared for the next level of the role.
I love that.
That's yeah, the effort that you're making to remove that bias from even a process or something that could be misconstrued, I think is so important. Because it does allow you, it is more about creating that space for fair diversity, where you're opening those opportunities up, not necessarily targeting the fact that you want to be a more equal, diverse organization by reaching out to more women. But I also love that you guys make the effort within your business to talk to women who have that management opportunity or that management vibe that they could potentially be in that role, but that confidence just isn't there. And that's just the bigger issue in our industry in general, is that we lack, as a women in hospitality and tech, we lack that confidence because there's been a lot more slow adoption. And we've gotten so much better since, I think, pandemic timeframe too, where though it's been more of a conversation. We've hit the nail on the head in so many, forms of media, but I think there's still so much work to do. And I'd just love to hear that you guys are going down that path so consistently.
There is, and it triggered a question for me actually, and Kristen, you furthered that for me, is which is there's a lot of women on the other side in the destination marketing space. So there's definitely more women than men in that space. However, they're not large corporations, so they don't have, built-in pieces of that. And also very often, even in the highest positions, they don't seem to have as big of a seat at the table as if you'll excuse the old boys club reference. So, would you have advice for those DMO female leaders who may not have the infrastructure around to support them? Maybe how to better get at the table?
Sure. First of all, I think that community is so important. And today, unlike my younger self, there are so many opportunities. There are so many groups on Facebook and LinkedIn and virtual meetups,
Mm.
and the ability to really connect to other women in your industry and be stronger together. A few years back, Amy Hinote uh,
Oh,
created
Amy. Yeah.
yeah,
Love her.
the VR Women's Summit. Okay, and
Hmm.
I know that in the first one people said, "What Women's Summit? What, why is
Yeah.
that?"
Mm,
But you know what? The first time I set my foot there, it was so amazing because it really created this safe space for women where they can support each other and be more vulnerable and talk about, the things that bother them, and think of how they can really create a better future for themselves. And there was something about it. I mean, I met with competitors and I met with people that I didn't know. But we were all in that same boat of women in the industry, and we should have our fair share at the table. And if you
Mm,
think about it, women are, if you look at the hospitality space as a whole, women make up more than 50% of the
Mhm.
workforce. And more importantly, I saw this article that 82% of travel decisions are made by women, which
Oh,
makes a lot of sense to me
absolutely.
because my husband never
absolutely.
made any travel decision in his life based on um but the thing is, if women are the majority of the hospitality industry and the majority of the customers, right? How can men decide what's good for them? There
Right.
should definitely more women in hospitality tech
Mhm.
support a better product more suited for the average customer. That would probably be a woman. And I think that one of the things that we're seeing is that you also need to be creative about what it means to be a woman in the industry and a woman in tech, right? It doesn't have to be, you don't have to be a developer. You can be a marketer. Of course, you see a large share of the marketing roles being held by women. You can be a product designer or a product manager. We have the majority of roles in those departments, for example, for us are women, not men. And see it in the, if you think about the DMO industry, women are great marketers. They can be great at their job. They should own it. They should build a brand for themselves. They should write about it. They should tell the world why they excel at what they do and create that momentum around them that would have either men or women give them that seat at the table.
And I love that piece about building a brand for yourself. I think a
Mhm.
lot of women, especially if they're employed by a larger corporation, shy from that because they feel like it's disloyal. But I actually feel like, and I would love your opinion, I feel like it strengthens your whole organization if you have this like army of branded, talented, smart women.
Absolutely. And speaking of putting yourself out there, I really encourage women to go and speak at conferences, right?
Mhm.
Um,
Yes.
because,
Yes.
and it's difficult, right? I think that lately, again, many conferences have that in mind and understand it can be an all men panel for the entire day. They have to
Right.
bring more a more diverse panel, and they have to have more women on stage. But it's not just about women in senior roles. It's women that are willing to do that. And sometimes women tell me, "Oh, I'm shy. I don't want to speak.
Mm.
I'm not good at speaking in front of an audience." And I say, "Well, you didn't try. You need to try it. You need to practice."
Mhm.
I was probably pretty bad on stage the first time, but you learn over time, right? So
It's
if
a
you practice.
critical skill. It's a critical skill for anything and any part you want to do, I feel like. So I love that encouragement as
I
well.
think when being on stage, really, it gives you that brand, that credibility
Mhm.
that you're an
Right.
expert. You were invited to speak on stage about your expertise, about your profession, about your opinion, and I think it's a huge thing for your career.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So I do want to ask a little bit about what's going on with Guesty right now? What are some big new news that you could share with us and our listeners? I'd love to hear a little bit about what's going on with the company too.
Sure. So I'm very proud of where we are and what we've achieved. A
Mhm.
few months ago, we've released that we secured our last round of funding with KKR. If you're not familiar with them, they're one of the largest firms in the world with more than $500 billion in assets. So that was
Mm.
huge for us. We
Wow.
secured $130 million in our last round. And right following that,
Congratulations.
yeah, thank you. And right following that, we've made our seventh acquisitions. We acquired seven companies to date, but one was pretty recent, Rentals United. Not,
Mhm.
don't know if you're familiar with them. They're um, the leading channel manager for short-term rentals. Um, they're located in Barcelona and Poland. A great team, and they really allow us to um, have an even more robust connectivity solution for our customers of all shapes and sizes. So those were two big pieces of news on the business side. On the product side, we keep innovating We did a lot on the AI front lately. We released our GPO, our Guesty Price Optimizer, about a year ago. Then we released our Reply AI, our AI agent for responding to guest messages automatically. That's
Yes.
a huge pain. I don't have to tell you that.
Yes.
Yeah. And just 2 months ago, we released our review AI tool that now allows you to automatically categorize and move to a call to action on guests' negative reviews. So whether it's like they're not happy with the cleaning or the noise or the check-in process or whatever, you automatically get a call to action as to what you have to do to improve your property and then improve your reviews. Um, that and think the last thing I can say about AI is we also released an AI website builder that allows you to automatically generate content and create a beautiful website, which is also amazing.
That is
And
That's
keep
great.
innovating on our bread and butter, releasing, more connectivity solutions, more financial and accounting solutions, and one more thing that we've done is really segment the property solutions into the light solution for the smaller host and the pro
Mm,
solution for the bigger host, and really create different offerings based on your size and needs. And that's going along really well as well.
I love
I
that.
love
I
that.
can go on and on, but I don't want to bore you guys.
Oh, I am not. I am
No,
locked
yeah,
in.
yeah, I mean, just the enhancements. I know for sure when I was kind of digging in and looking at like the response AI part of it, I'm like, oh, I could imagine this is like heaven for those that are managing so much, especially if you have multiple units and you have multiple check-ins going on at the same time, or just, doing that follow-up. So that I thought was a biggie.
Yeah, and in our industry, it's all about cost effectiveness and about being, doing
Absolutely.
more with less and being more responsive and being really quick. And the more we automate and the more tools we release, the more we enable our customers to be better hosts and be better uh,
Right.
by their customers.
Yeah, which is super important for our DMOs in the world too, who rely on travelers having great short-term rental experiences. I mean, that is part of what we're seeing more DMOs doing outside of promoting the hotels and marketing the hotels, is also marketing the entire accommodation set in the destination. That includes short-term rentals and vacation rentals. And the more tools these hosts have to give the best experience, it impacts the entire destination. And I think more DMOs need to be thinking about how to offer, giving them guidance. Here's some tips and some tools for our short-term rental community. This will improve your experience. This will improve our guests' experience. Ultimately, the destination's brand and what people remember when they visit. And I think that's really a really important conversation that more DMOs should be having for sure.
Yeah, and as I know Jen and I spoke about before, we have a specific solution for DMOs. We've built a new technology called Amplify that we're continuously improving
Right.
and developing to really allow DMOs to have a great solution and also be very inclusive to their community and the short-term rental operators in their community and make sure they're all seen and heard.
Absolutely. It's so important.
Absolutely. We've had John and David on our podcast before. We're big fans of Amplify and what you do over there.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
do think that conversation is starting to tighten or at least loosen from the DMO perspective of like not because you have to think about the fact that traditionally their boards, their councils are made up of flag hotels. And in no
Right.
way did they want the short-term rentals to have a seat at the table. But now they can't ignore us, and I love that part of it. But I am curious, when you talk about hosts, do you see like where that's tipping now? Is that a majority of mom and pops or one or two rentals, or are they really moving towards these larger property management groups?
First of all, I think there's room for everyone.
Hmm.
And I think what's important, and I talk a lot to property managers, and I tell them you have to think about your trajectory as well. Just like we talked about women and planning their careers, you
Right.
don't have to be a mega brand with 1,000 properties. It's okay to have 20 properties or 50 properties if that's the business you want to run, and also 2 properties if that's what you want. You can have a small boutique business, very local and really being very encouraging to the local community. And you
Mhm.
can have a mega brand in multi locations and really working on, your general appearance and the amenities and the type of service you provide in your properties. And you can appeal to different personas in the travel industry as well. Like, are you catered for families? Are you catered for business travelers? Are you catered for digital nomads? It's really about deciding how you want to run your business, how much do you want to grow it? Do you want to be bootstrapped? Do you want to raise money? Do you want to grow quickly? Is it a lifestyle style business? Do you want to sell eventually, or do you want to keep doing it for 30 years? And all that will, impact where you
Mm,
go or how you can really be successful at whatever business you choose to have. And I think
that's
it's,
great advice.
Yeah, it is.
yeah, I think especially for women, the short-term rental business created a huge opportunity for women. In a sense, just like Fiverr created a huge opportunity for women, allowing you to work from anywhere and, be your own boss and not need initial funding to start your business. You can start to be a host anywhere and everywhere, right?
Mhm.
And I think women should really take that opportunity. I think over 50% of hosts are women. I think that a lot of our skills are really built for, being great communicators, creating great hospitality solutions. And there's no reason why we shouldn't be dominant in this market.
I think intention is really important for our industry and for women to really go after what they know they want to go after without kind of stripping away all the layers that we have to kind of weed through sometimes. But being intentional, I feel like is really important for us.
Yeah, I mean, I just read an article that I found really interesting that women on Airbnb, hosted are women, make less money than men for the same amount of reservations.
How does this
Mm,
happen?
And I asked myself, why is that? Okay. And maybe I'm wrong, but think about it. There's also a huge, gender pay gap. Women
Same
make
reason we don't
hmm
ask
about
for raises. We
82
don't.
cents for every dollar a man make. Can that also apply to short-term rentals? We're just shy of asking for too much money for a property.
Right.
I think it's
hmm
that. I definitely think it's self-confidence and
Absolutely.
imposter syndrome and all of those things that we are still carrying that we have got to shake off. Which actually brings me back to that question. Have you ever felt like you've had imposter syndrome? Like you just seem so put together. Have you ever like wrestled with any of that as you on your journey?
Um, First of all, yeah, I did when I was younger. They say fake it until you make it.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, the first time I had to go on stage, I was, oh my God, I'm gonna stutter, I'm gonna forget what I'm supposed to say.
Mhm.
Um, I always had the confidence, I think, especially about communicating with people. I love people, I love talking to people, and I felt the stage was a natural way for me to communicate just with more
Mm,
people. So I
Mhm.
tried to take my strength and see how can I apply them to speaking on stage, for example. And I think the more you get experience with something, just like, with speaking on stage, the more you feel comfortable
Mhm.
being there. And the same with taking on new roles. I told you took on a role of VP operations. I had absolutely nothing in my career about, learning what to do about it. I just had to come confident for the first meeting and say, yeah, I think we should do this and that. And I wasn't sure, right? But I tried to come at it in confidence.
yeah,
And also I think to fight imposter syndrome takes work and
Mhm.
diligence. So one thing
it
I did
does.
is I, studied a lot. I read a lot of articles. I talked to a lot of people. I tried to come with a lot of information to every meeting, to every decision making, um, to any podcast and any, stage appearance and any interview. And I still prepare, by the way. I prepare to meeting you ladies because it's important to respect the people that are talking to you and are interviewing you or that are coming to a conference to listen to you, and you need to respect them by coming prepared and knowing what you're talking about. And I think that by uh, preparing yourself, it helps you fight off the self-doubt and imposter syndrome, because you're coming to stage and you're saying, you know what? I know this stuff. I know what I'm going to talk about. I'm an expert. I know what to say about this. And you build your confidence over time.
I love that. And in my mind, I'm saying this is like preparing like you would for a test, right? If you're overly studied and you've done the work you're supposed to do, then you have that confidence going in and you're going to ace it. So I love how you lay that out, but I think preparation is so important on so many
Oh, it's
levels
so,
and
yes.
coming with the information too. I started out as a website programmer in like 1996. So there, you can imagine no men in the room either. So for me, I didn't want to come off as, the whatever word that people like to say. So I would come overly prepared. I've got this idea for you, John and Mark. I think it'd be cool if you did this. And I would just pump them up until they gave me the respect I needed. And maybe that's not the way I would do it today, but how we had to navigate in the late 90s.
That's
Yep,
interesting,
very different.
because my dad is a psychologist. And when I was younger, I used to tell him that, I managed to get things done by telling my manager that it was his idea, right? It's like the
Yeah.
trick and go, like, and then like if he thought about it, it must be a good idea. And then he said to me, Vered, you're manipulative. I said, what? How can you say that about me? I'm the sweetest thing. How can I be? But he said, no, but that's manipulation. You shouldn't manipulate someone to thinking it's his idea. You should convince him that it's your idea and it's a good one, right? And
Great
I think
advice.
over time, it's like, yeah, I own this, that's what I think. I believe in it. I have the stats or the data or the
Right.
information to prove my point, and I need to convince you that this is the right decision.
Agreed. I
That
love
is
that too. And I feel like over the years, we've become more confident. Jen and I have too, just in when we pitch ideas or when we pitch campaigns or just really
Mhm.
fun things of pitching it and really being confident in what we're saying and not waiting for the reaction or the did they like it or the follow-up comment, which was one of our faves. Well, or we could make tweaks or we could, so, but really being confident in saying, this is what we truly believe is going to work for you. And this is how we're going to do it because this is really where we feel we need to go and not retracting from that. And that has worked so much better for us over the years and really doing some fun, innovative things that I think before we would not have had the chance to do because we were kind of tiptoeing in. And now we're kind of opening the door like, okay, we're here and this is what we have to say. And that is just, I think,
Mhm.
so necessary in our world. Plus, we just never, you can't ever stop learning. You can't ever stop studying and stop, you know, taking in all the information and asking the right questions and waiting for the right answers, and just being collaborative. It's just an everyday thing for us. So we have to do that just to stay relevant in this crazy, fast paced, moving world we live in.
For sure, for sure. And the trends are moving so fast too. So
Yes.
that's something I'm curious if we can tap into your crystal ball a little bit. And what do you see maybe in the next 10, 15 years for travel? Do you see any big tectonic shifts?
I do think that short-term rentals will stay not just a big trend, but a growing trend in our industry. We've seen the shift, right? It
Mm,
used to be hotels here and short-term rentals here, but the growth rate of short-term rentals has really outpaced the growth pace of hotels, and it is becoming a viable solution for different personas that didn't consider short-term rentals in the past. It also is impacted by the change in the way people live, right? The fact that you can,
mm,
I think since COVID, we've seen tectonic changes in the way people, travel and
Hmm.
live. Or just,
mm-hmm.
younger generation, even before COVID, but definitely post-COVID, do not want to sign a 3-year lease, right? They want a
Right.
furnished
Mm,
apartment for a month in Atlanta and then figure out if it's the right place for them or if they want to move someone else. And
Hmm.
I think we'll see all those flexible living as a service choices and that scale of short-term rentals for short vacation all the way up to midterm stays and certain variations, and that continue to develop and hopefully create the majority of hospitality eventually. I do
Mhm.
think we also see hotels continuing to tap into short-term rentals, and short-term rentals tapping into some hotel-related services and amenities. And I do believe that the lines will slightly blur between the two, and you'll have a lot of
Interesting.
properties that you say, is it a hotel? Is it a short-term rental? Do you really separate the two, or do you have to think of them together as a huge like hospitality solution that caters for different needs and different personas of clients? And definitely with technology, we can just be so much more effective and personalized, and making sure that the right traveler is matched with the right hospitality solution. AI, of course, will also play a huge part into that. Thinking of, we already seeing AI based travel planning and solutions. And I think we'll see more and more of, full cycle of AI based planning and booking. And we need to be prepared for that. We need to think, be tech forward, think about the future and see how can we cater for the travelers of the future, the Gen Z and the younger generation even, that will probably travel differently in a few years.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I think
Yeah.
the last stat we saw, which was really interesting on Gen Z itself, is they'll spend up to 30 or 40% of their income to travel. So it's becoming way more important. And I love the part you put about the transient piece of it being short term to midterm. What's considered a midterm rental? Is that a month? Is that
Yeah,
further?
monthly stays or anything up to a year, so even a few
Mhm.
months, but not something that's supposed to be consistent and long term. From
Mhm.
1 year, it's definitely long term. And
Interesting.
to your point, I think they don't just spend more money on travel, they also care about the experiences, and they spend
Mm-hmm.
a lot of money on experience,
Yes.
right? Think about the
Right.
food, the recreational activities on site. And we also see a lot of our customers starting to think about it. I mean, you definitely see Airbnb and Booking think about it, but you also see uh, short-term stay operators start to think about how can we create a community that also offers different experiences. Can I really tap into my community in terms of food offerings and yoga
Mm-hmm.
classes and entertainment? And how can I really increase that pie of travelers spend for
Yes.
property and for my community?
Yes, I
I
love going through the Airbnb experiences just to see all the new things. I mean, the crazy stuff that people put together, it's like, I want this. But it's fun to see how much that has changed over the last couple of years and how much more offering there is. But also what's even more, I think, important and also great to see is that travelers are taking advantage of that. They expect to book experiences, not just stays and then everything else separate. They love the idea that we are packaging for them an experience that matches their personality and matches, their vibe, and using AI to do that. Because another stat I think is important to say and mention here is the amount of travelers that expect AI in their booking journey. They expect some of that AI to deliver a more personalized itinerary and offering to them. So
mhm.
they're already asking for it, they're already expecting it. So that just it really just pushes that AI technology boundary a lot further down the road and opens up for more tools to really get in the stay.
It does. And on that last point about community too, I feel like again that brings an opportunity for short-term rentals to get closer to their community in terms of the DMO, the
Yes.
chamber, the EDC. All of those play a people role that can
Mm-hmm.
come together. Like the EDC is serving maybe those digital nomads who are working, remotely, and the chamber is going to have a different thing for local services, and then the DMO is going to have for travelers. So I just see more and more evidence every time I have a conversation with somebody in the industry, and especially with you, Vered, that there is a need for that kind of collaboration as well. And maybe women should be leading that.
Definitely. We're great communicators. We said that. And yeah, I think that there's an advantage for short-term rentals in, creating those new experiences because
Mhm.
people are looking for unique stays. They're looking for a unique place to stay with a unique, local environment. I think it is more important to people than it was in the past. Like
Mm,
people are not looking for that gray, room in a gray hotel anymore. That's not vacation.
Right, right. And then
absolutely.
I'm curious when you say that too. I'm curious about this pop-up trend of these very, very niche, like decked out like Barbie themed short-term rentals. Did those have good returns for them? I'm just wondering. Obviously, I would think they would because they become very popular, but I just noticed more and more like entertainment blended with, you
Mhm.
know, decor.
To be honest, I'm not sure. I think a lot of it is just a, kind of a marketing
Gimmick.
play.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it causes people to browse and look because it's interesting, and then they could stumble upon something that's really interesting. Oh, I could stay there, but do
Mhm.
you really want to stay in a potato or, a Barbie house? I don't know.
I saw
It's
Polly Pocket yesterday. I'm
I
not
saw the
kidding.
same one. I saw the same
Every
one.
now and again I look, yeah, but Polly Pocket, and it was a real house, like a Polly Pocket house with like a Polly Pocket closet and like it was just insane. But then
So
I'm
that's
thinking like, how much did it cost for them to put this together? Because it was very well done. It was just the amount of investment these guys are going into to developing something that's so experiential like that. It's pretty impressive.
I think it would be a better investment if you doubled down on the entertainment aspect, like Hallmark, for instance, Christmas.
Yes.
If you partnered that with the rest of the community on the activities around like a theme that way, Christmas or something like that, then you have that. I just have noticed that, and I had to bring that up of these like extreme.
Hmm.
And you're right. I saw the potato. He's been out for a while. You could say it a potato too. I mean, it's cool and it's gimmicky, but to me, it gives a lot more attention to the overall short-term rental market
Hmm.
because it's like, now I've seen this, and you kind of go down that rabbit hole and find something that fits you better.
Yeah,
Right.
but it's great. I mean, if it works, and I think it did work for them, it's a great marketing strategy. I mean, you're the experts on marketing, so you should tell me.
Yep. Yep. It's definitely a good marketing play, I would say. It gets me. It gets me. I mean, I don't stay in the potatoes, but I find them interesting.
No, I think it's interesting. And to your point about AI, and I feel like travelers are going to expect that more. And when we can get to packaging in a way that's so curated and dynamic that it becomes very personal, like Kristen, this is exactly everything's ready for you. Your AI assistant's taking care of it. That's something
Absolutely.
I'm hoping to see in my lifetime and come to fruition, and especially with, tech leaders like Guesty. I feel like we're going to get there faster than we think.
Of course, I mean,
Well,
we're
yeah.
already really close to getting there on e-commerce, right? You're getting
Hmm.
very targeted promotions of things you're really interested in.
Hmm.
And and why shouldn't you get the same for travel? Why shouldn't they personalize the travel experience that you really love and are looking for?
Absolutely. And it's also become, even with inflation and all this kind of good stuff, there's more ways for people to be able to travel now. Now with a
Right.
firm and Klarna and a buy now, pay later sort of thing. I think that opens up more access, which is also something I love to see because I really believe that once you get out of your own community and you start traveling, even if it's not international, even if it's domestic, you start to look at the world a little differently through other people's eyes. And to me,
Right.
that's my favorite part of being in this industry is being able to see the world through other people's eyes.
I love that. And I think that what makes our, industry unique and the community around our
Hmm.
unique is that most people in the host community, they really love people. They love hosting guests.
Mhm.
They love meeting new people or helping them have a fun time. And it's just such a great community to be a part of. And I enjoy every minute of it as a result.
I love that. I love that. And I love that. So I have to ask, I know you started as an attorney and then fate said, "Hey, you're an operations gal." What was the vision growing up? What was your big dream?
Well, when I was growing up, I knew I want to be in management. Okay. I wanted that leadership role
I
eventually.
love that.
It's funny because I think I got to that road and like not the standard way. And I,
Mhm.
took a few turns along the way, but I knew I want to be there. I knew I want to be a part of a leadership team. I knew I wanted to manage people and set directions for the businesses I'm a part of. And yeah, again, it you can get to your vision in different ways. And I have two daughters and a son, and I tell them sometimes like, hey mom, we're not sure what we want to be and what we want to do. And I say, it doesn't matter, there's so many roads leading you to success or to
Mm-hmm.
the place that you'll feel good at. And you just need to start walking, start that journey and let it lead you to different directions. And you'll know to take the right turn when you need to.
I love that, kind of being a little bit open to
Yes,
life, but also staying on your direction. Kristen and I always say,
absolutely.
we have a lot, we take on a lot. We have a lot of projects. We always say, hey, doesn't matter how slow we're walking, we're still running circles around the guy laying on the couch. So we're good.
Exactly. Exactly. And I'm so glad you said that because I just told my daughter that like 2 days ago because she's a junior this year and we were having the conversation about, okay, I've got to start being more intentional with my this and my class here and because it's going to lead to what I'm going to do. And I said, don't overthink it because I think what you think you want to do now may not be what you think you want to do 10 years from now. And as long as you're walking through those doors and you're finding and you're observing and looking for opportunity and welcoming opportunity, you're always going to keep going. But I could say just with her attitude, she will be in upper management. She is like the manager of our
Well,
household. She tries to manage me, her brothers, like she's a manager.
That's the younger daughter, right?
Yeah, that's the middle child. That's the
Ah,
middle. It's boy, girl, boy for me, and she manages everybody.
of course she does. Yeah.
absolutely. I think though our younger females don't have some of, thankfully, hopefully I'm saying the right thing, knock on wood, not all of the challenges that we had coming up in the industry. I think it's a different slate for them. I have four daughters,
Thank
and I can
goodness.
tell you, they think they should be running the world. Nobody's going to tell them any different.
But you know what? They had role models that we didn't have. It was
Right.
Absolutely.
it was rare to have role models at our time, and now there are
Mhm.
more of us to show them the way or to show them that there's a possibility because you can't be what you can't see, right?
And we've
Right.
shown, I think, in a way, at least the younger female leaders that I deal with are more emotionally intelligent than at least my generation coming up. Because I think we had the only like boss lady look up we had was like Alexis Carrington, like the soap opera type thing. Like, right. I just
Oh
totally told my
goodness.
age. But it's a different thing. So I love this. And I love that the young female leaders have someone like you to look up to and to show the way. And
Really
I'd really
important.
love to hear, just kind of for all our listeners out there, all age females listening in tech and travel and all of that, what would be your top 3 points of advice for 2025? Like if they were just going to do 3 things to advance their career, what would you suggest?
First of all, is put yourself out there. And you could put yourself out there in different ways. You could ask to join certain meetings where you think you can contribute or learn. You can ask to join conferences or ask for speaking opportunities, even to lecture internally within your organization, right? Hey, I have something really cool I've done and I want to share it with the department. You can do that. You don't have to be in an international conference to speak up. Um, and post about things you do. Think about interesting articles you can write. And again, they don't have to be New York Times articles. You can just, you know, have a thought, develop it, and write about yourself, write about your skills, write about what you can do. Be out there, be exposed to new opportunities. The other thing is take risks. Okay. You
Mm.
can't move up the ladder if you don't want to take that next step. In order to move up the ladder, you have to take a step into somewhere you weren't in before. And you're not 100% sure of what to do there, but you have to take that step. So take risks. You're offered another role, you're offered another position, you're offered just an expansion of your responsibilities. First of all, take it. First of all, say yes, then think how you do it. But first of all, say yes. So I think that would be my second one. And the third is, I'd say, create a community. See how you can find more women to help you, whether it's finding mentors that will help you
Mm.
to learn things and to make the right connections and to move up the ladder using their advice and their knowledge. If it's creating a community of your peers, learning from each other and helping promote each other, or thinking how to overcome biases or obstacles that you have on your way, and whether it's creating an even broader community of professionals in your field where you can really learn and elevate yourself as a result.
Oh,
So
well,
those are
good
my top
pieces.
three.
I
Those
love.
were great.
Oh my gosh, I can tell you, I'm gonna have this episode on repeat for myself. Like, I just feel like I can go conquer the world now.
And
I'm
these
sure
are
you're
the
doing fine,
conversations
Jen.
that more women should be having. Like, I feel like if you block an hour, right, of your week or your month even, and you gather your female counterparts or those that you're closest to, and you have these conversations about how we can uplift each other, what can we do better, how can we do things differently, it sets us up for like a continuance of this encouragement and this confidence,
Mhm.
for days and weeks to come. And I think doing that consistently is really important.
By the way, I'm still doing it with different forums. Okay. First of all, in the VR community, after the last Women's Summit, we created a forum of female leaders and we meet every month virtually. And we talk about different things
That's
and we
great.
educate each other and support each other. And it's a wonderful feeling. And I also do it on the tech community. I mentor young female entrepreneurs and I meet with female leaders in the tech space and we learn from different industries. And you can do it and you should do it at any age, even if you're,
Hmm.
getting to higher levels in your career.
I love
I
that. I
love
will
it. This
say,
is so good.
I learned so much from our Gen Z teams. Like, I just eat it up. I love it every day. So I kind of consider like my mentors also to be, doesn't matter, it's ageless.
Hmm.
True.
Oh my
Absolutely.
gosh, what a great conversation, Vered. Thank you for spending your
Yes.
evening time with us because I know
We
it's a little bit different time
appreciate,
over there.
yes, we appreciate you. This was such a great conversation.
I
Wonderful,
love that.
wonderful.
I had great counterparts for the conversation.
Well, thank you.
Yes, thank you. And we'll look forward to having you again, I'm sure, on the podcast, because I feel like this is a conversation that doesn't have limitations. We could just let's do this on the regular.
I love it. I love it. Thanks
Yes.
all.